Did you know that throughout the tumultuous medieval period, queens were not just silent figures behind the throne? Did you know that some of history's most powerful women directly shaped the very fortifications that defended kingdoms and launched armies? Get ready to explore the stone legacies of 15 incredible medieval queens. Number 15. Lisbon Castle, Portugal, strengthened by Leonor de Meneses. In the late 14th century, Portugal was a land of intricate political dances, and at the heart of much of it was Queen Leonor de Meneses. She was a woman who navigated a world dominated by men with a sharp intellect and an undeniable will to power. Her life was a dramatic saga of love, ambition, and fierce political maneuvering, often against overwhelming odds. Leonor rose from relative obscurity to become the queen consort of King Ferdinand I, a monarch known for his own complex strategies and changing alliances. When Ferdinand passed away in 1383, Leonor stepped into the role of regent for her young daughter Beatrice, who was married to the King of Castile. This moment plunged Portugal into a deep succession crisis, a period known as the 1383 to 1385 interregnum, where the very independence of the kingdom hung in the balance. Lisbon Castle, also known as Castelo de São Jorge, stood as a towering symbol of royal authority and the heart of the Portuguese capital. Perched high above the city, its ancient walls had witnessed centuries of change, from Roman times to Visigothic rule, and then the long Moorish occupation before its reconquest by the first king of Portugal, Afonso Henriques, in 1147. By Leonor's time, it was not merely a ceremonial palace but a vital strategic stronghold, commanding views over the Tagus River and controlling access to the burgeoning city below. During her regency, securing and strengthening this fortress became paramount. It was not a time for new grand constructions, but for shoring up existing defenses against imminent threats. The Castilian claim to the throne through Leonor's daughter Beatrice meant that King John I of Castile was poised to assert his authority militarily. Lisbon became a key target, and its defenses were rigorously tested. Leonor, with her keen understanding of political and military necessity, directly oversaw efforts to enhance the castle's fortifications. While precise records of specific building projects she initiated might be scarce, her active role as regent meant that the upkeep, reinforcement, and strategic deployment of the castle's defenses were directly under her purview. She understood that controlling Lisbon, and particularly its citadel, was synonymous with controlling Portugal itself. She ensured that the castle was well provisioned, its garrisons well supplied, and its walls maintained to withstand a potential siege. This was not a passive role. It required active management, delegation, and significant expenditure from the royal treasury at a time of immense pressure. The very act of holding such a vital fortress against a powerful invading force was a testament to her determination. The 1383 to 1385 crisis saw Lisbon Castle become the epicenter of resistance. The Castilians launched a devastating siege against the city in 1384, attempting to starve its inhabitants into submission. Leonor, initially siding with her son-in-law, later found her own position precarious, as popular sentiment in Lisbon rallied behind John of Aves, an illegitimate half-brother. Regardless of her shifting alliances, the castle remained a critical point of control. It was from these very walls that royal decrees were issued, and from its towers that the city's defenders watched for enemy movements. Queen Regent's presence, even if sometimes symbolic, instilled a sense of legitimate authority within the fortress. Her oversight ensured that the ramparts were not crumbling, that the watchtowers were manned, and that every strategic advantage was utilized to protect the capital. Although the ultimate victory in the succession crisis went to John of Aves, who became King John I, founding the House of Aves and securing Portugal's independence, Leonor's role in the initial defense of Lisbon and its paramount fortress cannot be understated. Her regency, though controversial and ultimately unsuccessful in securing her daughter's claim, highlighted her strategic mind and her capacity for leadership in a time of extreme national peril. Lisbon Castle, having withstood the Castilian siege, emerged as a symbol of Portuguese resilience, a resilience that Leonor had, for a time, fiercely embodied and actively worked to uphold. Her legacy is entwined with the castle's enduring strength, a testament to a queen who fought to preserve her power and the kingdom she governed. Number 14. Smederevo Fortress, Serbia, influenced by Helena of Hungary. The early 15th century in Serbia was a period of immense change and constant threat, as the burgeoning Ottoman Empire pressed relentlessly against the Balkan states. It was during this perilous time that Helena of Hungary, also known as Jelena Lazarevic, the formidable mother of despot Durad Brankovic, played a crucial role in shaping the defense of her land. Though Smederevo Fortress was primarily commissioned and built by her son, Helena's influence, as a powerful dowager despotess and a shrewd political advisor, was undeniable. She was a woman of noble birth, a descendant of the Serbian Nemanjic dynasty, and connected to the Hungarian royal house, giving her significant political leverage and a deep understanding of diplomacy and warfare. Her life was dedicated to the survival of the Serbian despotate amidst the Ottoman expansion. Smederevo Fortress, situated strategically on the Danube River, was designed to be the new capital of Serbia, replacing the older and more vulnerable Belgrade, which had been returned to Hungary. Its construction was a monumental undertaking, conceived as a massive triangular water fortress, unique in its design for its time, with 25 towering turrets and thick double walls facing the land. It was not just a defensive structure. It was a grand statement of Serbian sovereignty, a desperate attempt to secure a future for a kingdom under siege. The very scale of its construction, completed with remarkable speed between 1428 and 1430, reflects the urgency and magnitude of the Ottoman threat. Helena's connection to Smederevo Fortress was profound, even as she did not personally lay its stones. As the mother of the ruling despot Durad Brankovic, she wielded immense influence within the court and over her son's decisions. She was a seasoned politician and a strong advocate for Serbian independence, constantly advising on strategic matters. The decision to build such an imposing new capital fortress, so close to the Ottoman frontier yet offering a secure base, would have certainly passed through her council. Her wisdom would have been sought on its design, its provisioning, and the massive logistical effort required to raise such a structure from the ground in such a short time. This was a project of national survival, and a figure of her stature and experience would have been central to its realization. Beyond mere advice, Helena's active management of the court and her political negotiations with both Hungary and the Ottomans directly impacted the fortress's construction and subsequent defense. She engaged in complex diplomatic efforts to secure alliances and resources, often traveling and mediating, which in turn freed up her son to focus on the military and logistical challenges of the fortress. She understood the precarious balance of power and the necessity of such a strong defensive point. When the Ottomans inevitably turned their attention to Smederevo, Helena's influence would have been felt in the determination of its defenders. She personally experienced the trials of the Ottoman advance, including the tragic blinding of her other son and grandson by the Ottoman Sultan, Murad II, reinforcing her understanding of the desperate need for formidable defenses like Smederevo. The fortress eventually fell to the Ottomans in 1439 briefly, and then permanently in 1459, marking the end of the Serbian despotate. But its construction, largely during Helena's period of significant influence, stands as a testament to the Serbian people's last major attempt to withstand the Ottoman tide. It was built with a clear purpose: to protect the legacy and future of an independent Serbia. Helena of Hungary, though not a queen in the traditional sense, was a powerful matriarch whose strategic vision and influence were instrumental in the creation of Smederevo, a fortress that embodied the desperate courage of a nation fighting for its very existence. It was a fortress built not just of stone, but of a fierce desire for survival, a desire Helena deeply shared and actively championed throughout her remarkable life. Number 13. Tarascon Castle, France, maintained by Yolande of Aragon. Yolande of Aragon was a force of nature in early 15th century Europe. As Duchess of Anjou and Queen of Naples and Sicily, by marriage and later as mother-in-law to King Charles VII of France, she was a master of diplomacy, a shrewd politician, and a formidable power broker. In an era when France was being torn apart by the 100 Years' War and the ambitions of England, Yolande stood as a beacon of resistance, particularly in supporting the beleaguered Dauphin, who would later become King Charles VII. She cultivated a vast network of alliances and spies, managed her own extensive territories, and wielded influence far beyond what was expected of a medieval queen. Her very presence commanded respect, and her strategic mind was recognized even by her enemies. Tarascon Castle, majestically situated on the Rhone River in Provence, was not merely a picturesque residence, but a strategically vital fortress. Its commanding position allowed control over river traffic, a crucial artery for trade and military movements in the south of France. By Yolande's time, it was an imposing structure with massive round towers, thick walls, and a formidable keep, while much of its current appearance was shaped by her son, King René of Anjou. Yolande inherited and maintained the castle as a core part of her family's extensive territories. It was a primary royal residence for the House of Anjou, but crucially it also served as a military strongpoint and the secure treasury. During the chaotic years of the 100 Years' War, maintaining such a stronghold was an active and strategic act of defense and governance. Yolande's connection to Tarascon was one of active oversight and strategic utilization. As a powerful regent, and later a senior figure in the court of her son-in-law, Charles VII, she had a vested interest in the security and operational readiness of her family's strongholds. She ensured that Tarascon, among her other castles, was well garrisoned, properly maintained, and adequately provisioned. While not directly overseeing construction, she would have funded necessary repairs and enhancements from her vast revenues, ensuring its continued defensive capability. Tarascon was a place where she convened councils, received envoys, and planned her political and military strategies. It served as a secure base from which she could exert her considerable influence over the politics of France and her own domains. One of Yolande's most famous interventions revolved around her role in supporting Joan of Arc. It was Yolande, along with her daughter Marie of Anjou, Charles VII's wife, who funded Joan's initial journey and her equipment, playing a crucial role in bringing the Maid of Orleans to the Dauphins. Tarascon, as a secure and central location within her southern territories, would have been part of the logistical network that allowed her to project power and support such critical endeavors. It was a place where funds were secured, plans were discussed, and resources marshaled. The castle was not merely a backdrop, but an active component of her political machinery, providing a safe haven and a command center for her operations. During a turbulent period, her presence within its walls symbolized the resilience of the French crown and the House of Anjou against their English adversaries. Tarascon Castle stands as a testament to Yolande's strategic acumen and her pivotal role in French history. While others might be remembered for their direct military campaigns, Yolande's power lay in her intelligence networks, her diplomatic skill, and her ability to sustain the French war effort from behind the scenes. The stability and security of castles, like Tarascon, which she meticulously maintained and utilized, provided the essential infrastructure for her plans to unfold. It was a safe haven where she could protect her family, accumulate wealth, and scheme against the English, ultimately contributing to the eventual French victory in the 100 Years' War. Tarascon, therefore, is not just a symbol of royal power, but a quiet monument to the strategic genius of a queen who literally kept France fighting. Number 12. Leeds Castle, England, fortified by Isabella of France. In the early 14th century, Isabella of France, daughter of the powerful King Philip IV of France and wife of King Edward II of England, was nicknamed the She-Wolf of France, for a reason. Her story is one of betrayal, political intrigue, and ultimately a stunning seizure of power. Initially, a young queen navigating a difficult marriage in a kingdom grappling with the failures of its king, Isabella eventually became a figure of immense strength and ruthlessness. Her personal grievances, particularly the king's favoritism towards his male companions, drove her to seek alliances abroad and ultimately to lead an invasion against her own husband. Leeds Castle, situated in Kent, England, was a picturesque moated castle that served as a favored royal residence. By the early 14th century, it was a formidable stronghold, almost entirely surrounded by water, making it extremely difficult to assault. While it had a long history as a royal property, its significance to Isabella became particularly pronounced in the tumultuous years leading up to her. It was her dower castle, meaning it was granted to her for her lifetime use and income as queen, providing her with a personal base of operations and a source of considerable wealth. This personal ownership gave her a direct stake in its maintenance and defense. Isabella's direct involvement with Leeds Castle famously began in 1321. In a moment that would become a pivotal flashpoint leading to civil war, she sought to take up residence at her dower castle. But the constable, Lord Bartholomew de Badlesmere, who had allied himself against King Edward II, refused her entry. This was an astonishing affront to the Queen's authority and a blatant challenge to the crown. Isabella, outraged, attempted to force her way in, leading to a violent confrontation where several of her attendants were killed. This incident, often cited as a direct cause of the ensuing baronial rebellion against Edward II, cemented Isabella's fierce resolve. Following this humiliation, King Edward II, spurred by his queen's outrage, personally led a siege against Leeds Castle. The siege lasted for just over 2 weeks, a testament to the castle's strong defenses and its strategic importance. Edward's successful capture of the castle and the subsequent execution of Badlesmere's men marked a temporary victory for the crown. However, this event profoundly affected Isabella. It highlighted the vulnerability of her dower lands and the extent to which royal authority could be challenged. After Edward's downfall and her seizure of power in 1327, Isabella would have ensured that Leeds Castle, now under her direct control, was fully secured and maintained as a vital part of her regency's power structure. She would have overseen its garrisons and ensured its continued defensive readiness, understanding keenly its strategic value from having been denied entry and then seeing it taken by force. Leeds Castle became a symbol of Isabella's personal struggle and later her ascendancy. After she and her lover, Roger Mortimer, deposed Edward II, Isabella effectively ruled England for several years as regent for her young son, King Edward III. During this period, the maintenance and strategic importance of castles like Leeds were paramount to securing her grip on power. While no major new constructions are directly attributed to her, in this later period, with the castle's defenses, its capacity to resist a siege, and its symbolic importance as a royal possession would have made its upkeep a high royal possession. It was a place she knew intimately, having been both locked out of it and seen it recaptured for the crown. Leeds Castle, therefore, stands as a quiet witness to one of the most dramatic power shifts in English medieval history, inextricably linked to the formidable Queen Isabella. Number 11. La Rochette Castle, Luxembourg, rebuilt by Ermensind of Luxembourg. Ermensind of Luxembourg, ruling in the early 13th century, was far more than a mere consort. She was a sovereign countess who actively governed her domains. In an age when female rulers were often overshadowed by their husbands or sons, Ermensind stood out as a sharp political operator, a dedicated administrator, and a formidable defender of her lands. She inherited a complex patchwork of territories, and through a combination of strategic marriages, astute diplomacy, and decisive military action, she consolidated and greatly expanded the county of Luxembourg, laying foundations for its future importance. Her reign was marked by a commitment to justice, the establishment of towns, and the fortification of her key strongholds. La Rochette Castle, perched dramatically on a rocky promontory high above the White Arens Valley in Luxembourg, was a crucial defensive and administrative center for Ermesinde's expanding. By the time Ermesinde came to power, the castle had existed in some form for centuries, but it was in a state that required significant attention. Its strategic location, controlling important routes, and offering excellent defensive advantages, made it an indispensable asset. It was not merely a residence, but a symbol of the Count of Luxembourg's authority and a key component of the region's defense network. Ermesinde's direct involvement in the rebuilding and fortification of La Rochette Castle was extensive. Following her first husband's death and her marriage to Waleran, III of Limburg, she embarked on a significant program of construction and repair across her domains. At La Rochette, she commissioned major reconstruction and expansion work. This was not a minor facelift. It involved reinforcing existing structures and adding new defensive elements to make the castle more resilient against attack. She understood that strong fortifications were vital for asserting her authority over her often disputed borders and for protecting her subjects. Her efforts transformed La Rochette into a truly imposing fortress, fit for the challenges of the medieval period. Her reasons for investing so heavily in La Rochette were deeply strategic. Ermesinde faced constant external pressures from powerful neighbors, including the Archbishopric of Trier and the Duchy of Lorraine, who coveted parts of her territory. She used castles like La Rochette not only as defensive bulwarks, but also as administrative centers from which she governed and projected her power. The strength of these castles served as a deterrent, allowing her to negotiate from a position of strength and secure the loyalty of her vassals. Her reign saw a significant increase in the size and prosperity of Luxembourg, and this expansion was directly supported by the security provided by her fortified network, of which La Rochette was a jewel. Beyond the physical fortifications, Ermesinde's legal and administrative reforms further strengthened her realm. She granted charters to towns fostering economic growth and established a legal code, the Jus Ermesindii, which codified rights and responsibilities. These internal reforms, combined with her external military readiness, created a stable and prosperous environment. La Rochette Castle, with its newly reinforced walls and towers, became a tangible symbol of this stability and Ermesinde's successful governance. The very act of rebuilding and fortifying such a key castle was a declaration of her sovereignty and a commitment to the long-term security of Luxembourg. Today, the ruins of La Rochette Castle still stand as a powerful monument to the remarkable reign of Ermesinde, a queen who literally built up her kingdom brick by stone. Her vision for a strong and independent Luxembourg was literally carved into the landscape, with fortresses like La Rochette standing as enduring testaments to her will. Number 10. Wall Castle, Poland. Enhanced by Hedwig of Poland. Queen Hedwig of Poland, known in Polish as Jadwiga, reigned in the late 14th century, a figure of profound religious devotion, sharp political intellect, and immense personal charm. Though she was a queen in her own right, crowned King of Poland, her legacy is deeply intertwined with the union of Poland and Lithuania, which transformed the political landscape of Eastern Europe. Hedwig inherited a kingdom that, while powerful, still needed consolidation and further integration. She was a keen patron of arts and sciences, founding the Jagiellonian University's theological faculty, but her impact extended to the very infrastructure of her realm, including its most important royal residence. Wall Castle, perched majestically on Wall Hill overlooking the Vistula River in Krakow, was the historical seat of Polish kings and a symbol of the nation's power and continuity. By Hedwig's time, it was already a complex of impressive buildings, including a royal palace, a cathedral, and various fortifications. It served as the central hub of Polish governance, where foreign envoys were received, laws were promulgated, and royal ceremonies took place. Its strategic location made it both a center of power and a vital defensive stronghold for the capital city. Hedwig's direct involvement in Wawel Castle focused on its enhancement and fortification, reflecting her commitment to strengthening the Polish state. While Wawel had seen many phases of construction under previous rulers, Hedwig, with her husband, Władysław I Jagiello, invested significantly in improving its defenses and infrastructure. She understood that a strong, secure royal residence was essential for projecting authority both internally and externally. She would have commissioned and overseen projects aimed at reinforcing the walls, towers, and gates, ensuring the castle's ability to withstand potential sieges or internal unrest. Her attention to detail extended to the practicalities of royal living and governance, including the security of the royal treasury and the efficient functioning of the court within its walls. Beyond purely defensive measures, Hedwig's reign saw a flourishing of cultural and academic life, much of which was centered at Wawel. She was a patron of learning, even speaking multiple languages, and she used her royal authority to establish institutions that would benefit the kingdom for centuries. The castle itself became a vibrant center of intellectual and religious life under her guidance. Her efforts to fortify and enhance Wawel were part of a broader vision for a strong, unified, and culturally rich Poland. This was particularly crucial as the new Polish-Lithuanian Union faced challenges from the Teutonic Knights and other regional powers. A secure capital, symbolized by Wawel, was key to maintaining stability and prosecuting foreign policy. One of the most enduring stories about Hedwig at Wawel involves her profound piety and charity. She was known to sell her royal jewels to fund the restoration of churches and provide for the poor. The same sense of responsibility and dedication to her kingdom extended to the upkeep of Wawel Castle. She understood that the castle was not just her home, but the physical embodiment of the Polish state, and its strength was a reflection of the strength of her rule. Her inhamperance, though perhaps less dramatic than entirely new constructions, ensured that Wawel remained a formidable and fitting seat for the burgeoning Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Her legacy at Wawel is not just about stone and mortar. It is about the enduring vision of a queen who built up her kingdom in every sense of the word, from its spiritual heart to its physical defenses. Number 9. Castillo de Castrochares, Spain defended by Urraca of Leon and Castile. Urraca of Leon and Castile, who reigned in the early 12th century, was a queen who shattered conventions. As the first reigning queen in Europe, and the only woman to rule over the kingdoms of Leon and Castile in her own right, her reign was a whirlwind of political intrigue, civil war, and relentless personal struggle. Born into a powerful lineage, Urraca inherited a vast and fractured realm, a mosaic of kingdoms and lordships, constantly vying for dominance. She faced a difficult and often violent struggle to maintain her authority against rebellious nobles, ambitious husbands, and even her own son. Urraca was a warrior queen, often leading her own armies into battle, or personally directing defensive effort. Castillo de Castrochares, a significant fortress in the Kingdom of Castile, was strategically located on a hill overlooking the Camino de Santiago, a vital pilgrimage route and a key artery for trade and communication. By Urraca's time, it was an established stronghold, but its importance lay in its continuous need for defense and reinforcement. Castles of Castile were not static monuments, but dynamic centers of power constantly being adapted and fought over in the ongoing reconquista against Moorish rule and the incessant internal squabbles among Christian lords. Castrochares, like many others, was a pivotal point in controlling territory and projecting royal authority. Urraca's connection to Castillo de Castrochares was one of active defense and strategic utilization during her tumultuous reign. She did not build it from scratch, but as the reigning monarch, the maintenance and defense of such vital fortresses fell directly under her responsibility. Her reign was characterized by almost continuous conflict, particularly against her second husband, Alfonso the Battler of Aragon, and later against her own son, Alfonso VII. In such an environment, the strength of her castles was paramount to her survival and the preservation of her kingdom. Aragon would have overseen the repair of damaged walls, ensured adequate garrisons, and provisioned these strongholds for potential sieges. Her presence, often on campaign, meant she was directly involved in the strategic decisions regarding these fortresses. One of the most dramatic periods in Aragon's reign involved the relentless warfare against her husband, Alfonso the Battler. Their marriage, intended to unite the kingdoms of Leon and Castile with Aragon, instead descended into bitter conflict. During these years, Castellceres would have been a crucial stronghold, a place to gather loyal forces, store supplies, and defend against incursions from Aragonese or rebellious Castilian forces. Aragon's chroniclers describe her as a queen who was not afraid to ride into battle, to negotiate fiercely, and to personally oversee the defense of her key positions. She understood that control of these fortified sites was key to controlling the very fabric of her kingdom. The castle served as a staging post for her campaigns and a refuge when circumstances forced her to retreat. Castillo de Castellceres, like many of the fortresses across her realm, stands as a quiet testament to Aragon's extraordinary efforts to hold her kingdoms together. Her reign was ultimately a success, in that she managed to preserve the independence of Leon and Castile, passing them on to her son. The strength of her castles, maintained and defended under her direct command, was a crucial factor in this achievement. Aragon's legacy is often overshadowed by the drama of her personal life and conflicts, but her practical statesmanship and her unwavering commitment to defending her royal prerogatives, often from within the walls of a besieged castle, mark her as a queen who literally fought for her kingdom. The very stones of Castellceres would have borne witness to her battles, strategies, and unwavering determination. Number 8. Château de Chenonceau, France, transformed by Catherine de' Medici. Catherine de' Medici, a formidable figure of the 16th century, was queen consort of King Henry II of France, and later the powerful regent for her sons. Hailing from the influential Florentine Medici family, she brought a sharp intelligence, a profound appreciation for the arts, and a keen political mind to the French court. Her reign, particularly her regency, was marked by intense religious conflicts between Catholics and Protestants known as the French Wars of Religion. Catherine navigated this perilous landscape with a pragmatic and often ruthless approach, prioritizing the stability of the monarchy and the unity of France above all else. Château de Chenonceau, spanning the river Cher in the Loire Valley, was not just a beautiful palace. It was a strategically significant property, already a masterpiece of Renaissance architecture. When Catherine acquired it, its unique design, bridging the river, offered not only aesthetic beauty, but also a certain defensibility. While it might seem more of a pleasure palace than a fortress in the context of the tumultuous 16th century, its control over the river and its capacity to be provisioned and secured made it a valuable asset. The great ladies of France, especially powerful queens, often used their chateaux as centers of political power, places where councils were held, foreign dignitaries were received, and alliances were forged. Catherine's involvement with Chenonceau was by. She acquired the chateau in 1559, forcing Diane de Poitiers, her husband's mistress, to exchange it for Chaumont. This act alone was a powerful statement of her authority and her desire to reclaim symbols of royal power. Catherine then embarked on an ambitious building program. While much of her work focused on grand architectural additions and gardens, she also enhanced its defensibility in subtle but significant ways. She commissioned the famous two-story gallery that spans the river, a marvel of engineering and design. This structure, while beautiful, also served a practical purpose in controlling movement across the river and providing elevated defensive positions. If needed, her designs emphasized controlled access and impressive scale, which implicitly conveyed power and security. During the French Wars of Religion, Chenonceau served as far more than a country retreat. Catherine often used it as a secure refuge and a neutral ground for political negotiations. Its isolated yet accessible location, combined with its natural defenses provided by the river, made it an ideal place to host delicate discussions, away from the volatile streets of Paris. She received ambassadors, strategized with her advisors, and even hosted elaborate festivals and hunts to distract from the political tensions. These events, often held within the Grand Gallery, served to display the power and wealth of the French monarchy. Even as the kingdom was torn apart by religious strife, her ability to command such a strategic and beautiful property was a testament to her influence. Chenonceau today stands as a testament to Catherine de' Medici's complex legacy. It embodies her love for the arts, her powerful personality, and her strategic thinking. While not a traditional medieval fortress bristling with battlements, Catherine's transformation of Chenonceau made it a secure and imposing seat of power, a place where she could control her environment, host crucial diplomatic meetings, and project an image of formidable royal authority. The very act of taking it from Diane and making it her own, then pouring her vision into its expansion, demonstrated her political will. It was a fortress of diplomacy, of power, and of royal assertion, shaped by the shrewd mind of one of France's most influential queens. Number 7. Bamburgh Castle, England, held by Margaret of Anjou. Margaret of Anjou, Queen of England, in the mid-15th century, was a central, indeed almost singular figure in the early stages of the Wars of the Roses. A fiercely determined and intelligent woman, she came from a lineage of formidable French queens. Her marriage to the gentle and often incapacitated King Henry VI thrust her into a leading role in a kingdom teetering on the brink of civil war. Margaret became the de facto leader of the Lancastrian cause, a resolute defender of her son's right to the throne, and a relentless military strategist. She was often seen as a foreign she-wolf by her Yorkist enemies, but to her supporters she was the brave and unwavering hope for the House of Lancaster. Bamburgh Castle, a majestic and ancient fortress perched dramatically on a volcanic outcrop overlooking the North Sea in Northumberland, was a vital stronghold. Its history stretched back to Anglo-Saxon times, and by the 15th century it was a formidable, virtually impregnable fortress protected by its natural location and thick stone walls. Its strategic importance lay in its control of the northern coast, its capacity to receive supplies by sea, and its remote location, making it a perfect refuge and base for operations during civil conflict. For Margaret, it became a symbol of Lancastrian defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. Margaret's direct involvement with Bamburgh Castle came during the desperate years of the Wars of the Roses. After the disastrous Lancastrian defeat at Towton in 1461, King Henry VI was a fugitive, and Margaret herself had to flee, seeking refuge and support. When she returned to England in 1462, it was to the remote and strongly fortified castles of Northumberland that she rallied her remaining forces. Bamburgh became one of the key strongholds where she and her most loyal commanders held out against the ascendant, Yorkist King Edward IV. She poured what little resources she had into its defense and garrison. During the period of 1462 to 1464, Margaret used Bamburgh as a crucial base for launching raids and attempting to regain control of the north. She ensured it was well manned and supplied, often relying on Scottish support and supplies landed by sea. The castle endured a famous siege in 1464, where the Yorkist forces, led by Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick, the Kingmaker, employed heavy artillery, including the massive cannon, London, to batter its seemingly invincible walls. Despite the heroic efforts of its Lancastrian defenders, led by Sir Ralph Percy Bamburgh, eventually fell, marking a significant blow to Margaret's cause. Its fall forced her and her dwindling forces to retreat further, symbolizing the slow erosion of Lancastrian power. Bamburgh Castle today stands as a powerful testament to Margaret of Anjou's unwavering determination. Its stark, imposing silhouette against the northern sky speaks of the fierce battles it witnessed. For Margaret, it was more than just a castle. It was a last bastion of hope for her husband's throne and her son's inheritance. Her active involvement in its defense, ensuring its readiness and rallying forces within its walls, underscored her leadership qualities. She was not a queen who waited safely in a distant palace. She was on the front lines, directing military affairs, making decisions about strategic strongholds, and enduring the hardships of war. Bamburgh Castle forever carries the echoes of Margaret's indomitable spirit, a powerful queen who refused to surrender even when her kingdom was crumbling around her. Number 6. Windsor Castle, England. Influenced by Philippa of Hainault. Philippa of Hainault, queen consort of King Edward III of England in the 14th century, was much more than just a royal wife. She was a politically astute, compassionate, and remarkably popular queen who played a significant role in the flourishing of England during the early Hundred Years' War. While her husband led armies into France, Philippa often served as regent, demonstrating shrewd administrative skills and a deep commitment to the welfare of her subjects. Her gentle demeanor belied a formidable inner strength, as shown during the Black Death and various political crises. She was a mother to many children, an advocate for trade and industry, and a key patron of architecture. Windsor Castle, the oldest and largest inhabited castle in the world, was already a grand royal residence by Philippa's time, having been founded by William the Conqueror. However, under Edward III and Philippa, it underwent an extraordinary transformation, becoming one of the most magnificent and strategically important royal complexes in Europe. It was not merely a defensive stronghold, but a symbol of burgeoning English power, a chivalric court, and a testament to Edward's vision of a new golden age. Its commanding position overlooking the Thames Valley made it naturally defensible, but its size and status required continuous upkeep and enhancement. Philippa's direct involvement in the enhancement and rebuilding of Windsor Castle was substantial. While Edward III is often credited with the grand scale of the rebuilding project, Philippa was a crucial partner in this endeavor. She understood the importance of a fitting royal residence and the symbolic power it conveyed. She would have overseen many aspects of the domestic arrangements, the landscaping, and the decorative elements that made the castle a truly impressive home for the burgeoning royal family. Her influence was felt in the planning and execution of the new royal apartments, the residential aspects of the castle, and the creation of comfortable and aesthetically pleasing spaces within its mighty walls. Edward III's ambition for Windsor was to create a new Camelot, a center for his Order of the Garter, symbolizing chivalry and military prowess. Philippa supported this vision wholeheartedly, while Edward was focused on the military and grand-scale defensive aspects. Philippa's role ensured the castle was not just a fortress, but a functioning royal court, a place of sophisticated living and governance. She would have managed vast sums of money and labor involved in its reconstruction, ensuring efficiency and the highest quality of workmanship. Her presence provided the domestic stability that allowed Edward's grand projects to proceed. Her influence helped shape Windsor into not just a military stronghold, but a truly magnificent royal palace, a symbol of English prestige and a secure base for the monarchy. Perhaps one of the most enduring stories involving Philippa at Windsor is her famous plea for the lives of the burghers of Calais. After the long and brutal siege of Calais in 1347, Edward III demanded the execution of 6 leading citizens to atone for their defiance. Philippa, pregnant at the time, bravely intervened, begging her husband on her knees to spare them. Edward, moved by her tears and compassion, relented. While this specific event did not take place at Windsor, it encapsulates Philippa's character and her influence over the king. demonstrating the quiet strength and moral authority she possessed. This character was undoubtedly brought to bear on the grand projects at Windsor, where her practical wisdom and sense of purpose ensured that the castle was built not just for defense, but for the flourishing of the royal court and kingdom. Windsor Castle, therefore, stands as a monument not just to Edward III's ambition, but to Philippa's practical and compassionate contributions, making it a truly fitting seat for a powerful and beloved queen. Number 5. Castel Nuovo, Naples, commissioned by Joanna I of Naples. Joanna I of Naples, reigning in the 14th century, was a monarch caught in a maelstrom of political assassinations, dynastic feuds, and international power struggles. Inheriting the kingdom of Naples and Sicily at a young age, she was a cultured, intelligent woman who found herself navigating a brutal world where personal survival and political legitimacy were constantly under threat. Her reign was marked by shifting alliances, conflicts with popes, and the tragic murder of her first husband, Andrew of Hungary, which plunged her into years of war and forced her to defend her throne fiercely. She was a ruler who had to continually assert her authority through political maneuvering and military strength. Castel Nuovo, meaning New Castle, located prominently on the waterfront of Naples, was a visionary project for its time. Naples was the thriving capital of a powerful southern Italian kingdom, a strategic port city and a hub of Mediterranean trade. While older castles existed in the city, Joanna recognized the need for a truly modern, imposing, and defensible royal residence and administrative center that reflected the power and prestige of her Anjou dynasty. The old fortresses were no longer adequate for the demands of 14th century warfare and royal display. Joanna's direct involvement in the commissioning and construction of Castel Nuovo was central to her reign. She initiated the project in 1279, though its most iconic features, the great towers and the triumphal arch, were added later. Provision was to create a fortress palace that would serve as both a secure royal residence and a powerful symbol of her authority. She oversaw the initial planning and directed the significant financial resources required for such a monumental undertaking. This was a direct investment in the security and future of her kingdom. The castle was designed to be a formidable defensive structure, with high walls, sturdy towers, and a deep moat capable of withstanding siege. Beyond its defensive capabilities, Castel Nuovo was also conceived as a grand architectural statement. It was to be a center of courtly life, a place for receiving foreign dignitaries, holding state councils, and hosting magnificent celebrations. Joanna, known for her cultural sophistication, understood that architecture could project power and legitimacy. Construction of the castle, a massive undertaking that employed numerous skilled craftsmen and laborers, reflected her ability to command resources and organize complex projects. It also served as a clear declaration of her intention to rule from a position of strength and permanence in Naples. The castle became a constant backdrop to the tumultuous events of Joanna's life. Witnessed conspiracies, periods of refuge, and moments of royal triumph. Secure walls provided her with a necessary sanctuary during the many times her throne was threatened, whether by invading Hungarian forces seeking vengeance for Andrew's murder, or by ambitious rivals. The very act of living and ruling from within such a formidable new fortress underscored her resilience and determination to hold on to her kingdom against all odds. Castel Nuovo stands as a testament to Joanna's strategic foresight and her enduring impact on the architectural and political landscape of Naples. It symbolizes her relentless fight for survival and her desire to leave a lasting legacy for her kingdom, a legacy literally built into the stone and mortar of a magnificent new castle. Number 4. Tower of David, Jerusalem, fortified by Melisende of Jerusalem. Melisende of Jerusalem, reigning in the 12th century, was a true queen regnant who exercised considerable power and influence over the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem. Inheriting the throne jointly with her husband, Fulk, and later ruling as a formidable regent for her son Baldwin III, Melisende was a shrewd politician, a dedicated patron of the arts, and a capable administrator. She navigated the complex and dangerous political landscape of the Latin East, balancing relationships with powerful Crusader barons, the Byzantine Empire, and the ever-present threat of Mughal. Her reign was a period of relative stability and cultural flourishing for the fragile kingdom. The Tower of David, specifically the Citadel of Jerusalem, was the very heart and most vital defensive structure of the Crusader kingdom. Situated at the Jaffa Gate, it controlled access to the Holy City and served as both a powerful fortress and a royal residence. Its long history, dating back to ancient times, made it symbolically potent, but its strategic importance in the 12th century was paramount. Jerusalem, surrounded by hostile powers, relied entirely on the strength of its fortifications to protect its Christian inhabitants and its sacred sites. The citadel was the last line of defense, a place where the king and queen could take refuge, and from which the city's defense could be coordinated. Melissende's direct involvement in the fortification of the Tower of David was a testament to her dedication to securing her kingdom. During her reign, particularly as she asserted her independent rule, she oversaw significant repairs and enhancements to the city's defenses, with the citadel being a prime focus. She understood that the strength of Jerusalem's walls was literally the strength of her kingdom. She would have commissioned stonemasons and engineers to reinforce the existing towers, heighten walls, and improve the gate systems, ensuring the city's ability to withstand siege. This was an ongoing and costly undertaking, requiring significant financial investment from the royal treasury, which she meticulously managed. Her efforts were not merely defensive. They were also about projecting authority and stability. As a reigning queen, Melissende's presence within the fortified citadel symbolized the legitimacy of the Crusader. She used the citadel not only as a place of refuge during times of unrest, but also as a center of her court where she received envoys, dispensed justice, and oversaw the administration of the kingdom. Her patronage of the arts, including the famous Melisende Psalter, also connected her to the vibrant cultural life within the city's walls, demonstrating a commitment to more than just military survival. Her ability to maintain and strengthen Jerusalem's defenses helped secure a period of prosperity and artistic growth for the kingdom. The legacy of Melisende at the Tower of David is one of pragmatic leadership and strategic foresight. While the Crusader kingdom ultimately fell, the fortifications she strengthened provided crucial protection for decades. Her work on the citadel ensured that Jerusalem remained a formidable stronghold throughout much of her reign. The very stones of the Tower of David bear silent witness to her efforts to defend the Holy City and maintain the Christian presence in the East. Melisende was a queen who literally put her resources and her will into bolstering the walls that protected her people and her sacred trust, embodying the strength and resilience of a kingdom under constant threat. Number 3. Canossa Castle, Italy, commanded by Matilda of Tuscany. Matilda of Tuscany, in the late 11th and early 12th centuries, was an extraordinary figure, perhaps the most powerful woman in medieval Italy. As a countess who controlled a vast swathe of land stretching from Lombardy to the Papal States, she was a skilled military commander, a shrewd diplomat, and a staunch supporter of the papacy during the investiture controversy. Her life was defined by the relentless struggle between the Holy Roman Emperor and the Pope, a conflict in which she played a central and decisive role. Matilda, personally, led armies, negotiated treaties, and strategically used her extensive network of castles to assert her authority. Canossa Castle perched high on an almost inaccessible rocky outcrop in the Apennine Mountains, was the crown jewel of Matilda's vast network of fortifications. It was more than just a castle. It was a symbol of her power, a place of refuge, and a strategic stronghold that commanded a crucial mountain pass. Its natural defenses, combined with formidable stone walls and multiple layers of protection, made it virtually impregnable in its time. Canossa represented the very essence of Matilda's authority and strategic brilliance. Matilda's direct involvement in the command and perhaps enhancement of Canossa was paramount. As the de facto ruler of her lands, she would have ensured its defenses were constantly maintained and its garrisons well provisioned. Canossa was not merely a ceremonial residence. It was her primary secure base, the place where she governed, organized her defenses, and conducted diplomacy. Her strategic use of Canossa reached its pinnacle in 1077, during the dramatic showdown between Emperor Henry IV and Pope Gregory VII. It was at Canossa that Henry IV famously knelt in the snow for 3 days, seeking the Pope's forgiveness and the lifting of his excommunication. Tilda hosted the Pope and facilitated this astonishing act of submission, demonstrating the castle's importance as a neutral but powerful meeting ground. Beyond this famous event, Matilda continuously used Canossa as a military and political hub. She maintained a formidable network of loyal knights and vassals, and Canossa served as the rallying point for her forces whenever her territories were threatened. She personally oversaw campaigns, and her ability to control her numerous castles allowed her to project power and defend her lands against imperial incursions. Her strategic deployment of her fortresses, including Canossa, enabled her to tie down larger imperial armies, wear them down, and ultimately protect the papacy and her own independent rule. She was a ruler who lived and breathed military strategy, and her castles were the physical manifestation of that strategy. Canossa Castle, though now largely in ruins, stands as an enduring monument to Matilda of Tuscany's unparalleled power and influence. It was at Canossa that she hosted one of the most pivotal moments in medieval European history, directly shaping the balance of power between secular and spiritual authority. Her command of this formidable fortress, her ability to make it a center of international diplomacy and a bastion of resistance, speaks volumes about her extraordinary leadership. Matilda was not a queen in title, but in every meaningful sense, she was a sovereign, and Canossa was the unyielding heart of her dominion, a fortress that witnessed and enabled her remarkable reign. Number 2. Louvre Palace, France, strengthened by Blanche of Castile. Blanche of Castile, queen consort and later regent of France in the early to mid-13th century, was a woman of exceptional intellect, iron will, and profound political acumen. Born a Spanish infanta, she became a powerful queen and twice served as regent for her young son, Louis IX, later Saint Louis. Her regencies were challenging periods marked by baronial revolts, threats from England, and internal divisions. Yet Blanche steered France with a firm hand, ensuring stability, suppressing rebellions, and safeguarding the royal authority. She was a master of diplomacy, a skilled administrator, and a fierce protector of her son's inheritance. The Louvre Palace in central Paris was already a formidable royal fortress by Blanche's time, originally built by King Philip Augustus in the late 12th century. It was designed as a strong defensive castle on the western edge of Paris, protecting the city and the royal treasury. Its massive keep, circular towers, and thick walls made it a crucial strategic point. For Blanche, the Louvre was not merely a residence. It was the symbolic and practical heart of the French monarchy, the place from which she governed, and the repository of the kingdom's wealth and power. Blanche's direct involvement in strengthening the Louvre was critical during her regencies. She inherited a kingdom often on the brink of internal chaos, with rebellious barons seeking to undermine royal authority. The security of the royal treasury and the king's person, both located within the Louvre, was paramount. Blanche would have rigorously overseen the castle's defenses, ensuring its walls were well maintained, its garrisons well trained and loyal, and its provisions ample to withstand any potential siege or internal uprising. She understood that a strong and secure Louvre projected royal power and deterred potential challenges to her regency. During her first regency for the young Louis IX, Blanche faced a powerful coalition of rebellious barons, including the Dukes of Brittany and Burgundy. She actively suppressed these revolts, often leading royal armies herself or directing military operations from the Louvre. The fortress served as her command center, a secure base from which she issued decrees, received intelligence, and planned her campaigns. Her strategic use of the Louvre, along with other royal castles, allowed her to maintain control of the capital and project her authority throughout the kingdom. She even personally oversaw the construction of new defensive works within Paris itself, including fortifications around the Louvre. The Louvre, under Blanche's rule, became a testament to her strength and her commitment to royal authority. She ensured that the royal coffers, stored within its strong keep, were safe and ready to fund military campaigns and state affairs. Her presence within its formidable walls provided stability during a tumultuous time. The very security of the Louvre, under her stern gaze, helped consolidate the power of the French monarchy, laying the groundwork for the highly successful reign of her son, Louis IX. Blanche of Castile was a queen who literally protected her kingdom from within the walls of its most important fortress, ensuring the survival and growth of the Capetian dynasty. The Louvre, for a time, was the unyielding heart of a kingdom protected by its formidable regent. Number 1. Chinon Castle, France. Associated with Eleanor of Aquitaine. Eleanor of Aquitaine, Queen of France, then Queen of England and Duchess of Aquitaine, in her own right, lived an astonishing life that spanned almost the entirety of the 12th century. She was one of the most powerful and influential women of the High Middle Ages, a patron of the arts, a political strategist, and a strong-willed ruler who directly governed her vast ancestral lands. And southwestern France, her marriages to two kings, Louis VII of France and Henry II of England, placed her at the very center of European politics for decades. However, her formidable independence and her unwavering defense of her own rights and the rights of her sons led to decades of conflict, most famously with Henry II. Chinon Castle, an expansive complex of fortresses perched high above the Vienne River in the Loire Valley, was a pivotal stronghold in the Angevin Empire. It consisted of 3 distinct castles, each with its own formidable defenses: the Fort Saint-Georges, the Château du Milieu, and the Château de Coudray. Its strategic location made it a crucial point for controlling the Loire Valley and a key administrative center for the Plantagenet kings. For Eleanor, Chinon was not just a royal residence. It was a deeply significant place, symbolizing her ancestral lands of Aquitaine and, later, becoming her personal prison. Eleanor's direct involvement with Chinon is tragic, yet immensely significant. After years of simmering tensions and open rebellion against her husband Henry II, Eleanor was finally imprisoned by him in 1173. For the better part of 16 years, she was held under house arrest in various English and French castles, including Chinon. While imprisoned, she was not building or fortifying it in the traditional sense, but her very presence transformed its historical significance. Henry II specifically chose Chinon as a key location for her confinement precisely because of its strength and its symbolic connection to her Aquitanian heritage. Her incarceration within its formidable walls was a direct act of political control and suppression by her husband. Despite her imprisonment, Eleanor's influence, even from behind castle walls, never waned. She remained a powerful figurehead for her sons, especially Richard the Lionheart, who continually campaigned against their father. After Henry II's death in 1189, Eleanor was immediately released from imprisonment. It was at Chinon that she was released, a momentous event that symbolized her return to power. From this point forward, she actively used Chinon as a base for her remarkable political resurgence. She took control of her domains, organized forces, and ensured a smooth transition of power for Richard, even traveling through dangerous territories to secure his release from captivity. Chinon Castle became inextricably linked with Eleanor's legacy of resilience and enduring power. It bore witness to her long imprisonment, her unwavering spirit, and her dramatic return to the political stage. After Richard's death, she continued to be a guiding force for her youngest son, King John, often residing at Chinon and asserting her authority over her territories. Her story at Chinon is a testament to the strength of a woman who, even when confined, remained a formidable political force. The stones of Chinon Castle, echoing with centuries of history, forever carry the imprint of Leonor of Aquitaine, a queen who knew its walls intimately as both a prison and a powerful symbol of her enduring will